My grandpa used to tell me this creepy story about his time in World War II. He was fighting in France, trying to push the Germans out of a city in Normandy. We needed to take the city since it was a major hub for supplies and backup. This guy told me they were battling it out, pushing from one thick bush to another. It was so bushy they could barely see anything. His bosses were freaked about rounding a corner right into enemy fire. And dude, these bushes were like 12 feet high. Perfect for defense, like nature's own damn fort. The Germans had machine gun nests and trenches everywhere. Worst fighting Grandpa ever saw, but he didn't talk specifics. Once asked Mom why, and she said remembering all those horrific things was tough for him. Grandpa mentioned they fought in the hedgerows for 2 months. So he said the real weird stuff started happening one evening. They came across a spot that the Germans had set up but never attacked from. All kinds of weapons and equipment, but no soldiers. They found food and other gear too, just lying around untouched. Weird, right? They just couldn't figure out why there were no soldiers around it. Some ammo boxes looked like they had blood on them, but it was too dim to tell for sure. After they checked everything out, Grandpa said they started moving again. But then a machine gun started going off. They all ducked for cover, scrambling to find holes to hide in. That's when Grandpa noticed something odd while he was hunkered down. Saw a dark, four-legged shadow zip off along the hedgerow. Dude swears he heard it growling and some Germans shouting. No clue what they said though, doesn't speak German. Had a couple more of these shadows bolt past where he was chilling in the grass. So the machine just quit out of nowhere. Guy said he could hear people freaking out, shouting and screaming in the dark. Nobody had a clue what was up. With the machine down, some dudes start lobbing grenades into trenches and dugouts, nuking the machine gun nests. But it didn't matter, he said. Whenever my grandpa would get this weird mix of confused and scared look in his eyes, he'd avoid making eye contact but still tell me what happened. Even though the grenades hit their targets, it didn't change anything. Stumbled upon a bunch of German nests and dugouts, but too late. Guys were already toast, torn up and missing limbs. Some were face down, covered in unrecognizable wounds. Medics couldn't find any survivors or even figure out what exactly killed them. Crazy, right? Nope, it wasn't shrapnel or bullets. Looked like some beast had ripped them apart. Grandpa told his COs about it, but they didn't buy it. No way any critters were around with all the shooting and explosions. They'd hide till the coast was clear. Still, can't ignore what I saw. Then deep into the night, we heard it, howling, yelping, barking, but we couldn't see squat. So they'd been hearing growling and snarling and stuff was moving around them, sometimes pretty damn close. Next day, they're heading closer to the city. Dude said they were scrapping all day and were just beat by the evening after navigating some wrecked farmhouses. He spotted them again that evening, just as it was getting properly dark. First, they were just shadows darting about, quick and quiet like. He told his buddies to keep an eye out, but they started getting shelled and scrambled everywhere. Ducking under some bushes with a few of his guys, he spotted them. Wolves. Quick, dark, sneaky bastards moving through the trees and buildings. Dude couldn't believe his eyes. He saw a pack of wolves prowling around a war zone like they were hunting. One made a beeline to his guy near the farmhouse, and he shot at it to scare it. Didn't work, though. The wolf latched onto his man's arm, teeth deep in. Dude managed to get the wolf off with his knife. 3 more of those buggers come charging, and Grandpa and his guys blasted them. Shelling got more intense, so everyone took cover under bushes, trees, basically anywhere safe. When dawn broke, they checked the place out. Grandpa said he walked over to the wolves to inspect them. Dude found German ID tags around a dead wolf's neck. Weird, right? Why would a wolf have that? So Grandpa and his crew told their boss about it, who didn't buy it until they showed him the bodies. So Grandpa and the dude checked out the wolf tags. Then the officer's boss spat and looked at my grandpa. He laughed ridiculously and was like, "Weirdest thing, Sarge, another wolf with British tags was reported east of here." Then he gave the wolf another look, chuckled, and left. My grandpa never got what that meant. Any thoughts? Hey guys, I just had this crazy encounter with a creature that's left me pretty spooked, and I thought I'd share. I always seem to find my sanity again on this sub where we can relate to the unexplainable. I hope my story makes someone out there feel they're not alone in this. So I was snoozing in my tiny flat. It's been a tough grind recently, working my ass off to make ends meet. And despite living in this shoebox, it's always been my safe haven. That night flipped my world upside down. Just a normal dude here, grinding away at a lame job and barely scraping by. The whole supernatural and God stuff wasn't my thing. But what happened that night? Total game changer. Woke up to some weird noise coming from outside. Thought it was the wind, but heard weird scratching and tapping on the glass. Froze when I got close to the window. Saw this freaky creature out there. Crazy pale with long arms and mad sharp nails. Dead black eyes, and its mouth was straight up nightmare material. Saw a creepy half-human, half-animal thing staring right at me. Frozen, I could do nothing but stare back. Suddenly it smashed through the window and charged at me. I dodged, crashed onto the floor, and watched it jump back out. Froze on the spot, totally shocked. Couldn't call for help or anything. Felt so damn vulnerable, didn't know what to do. Monster thing was gone, but left a fat mess. I'm just staring at my busted window, glasses all over. Just as I try to make sense of everything, boom! My kitchen window says hello to the floor. So this freaky creature gets back into my apartment, definitely hunting me. It feels like a live nightmare, and I'm clueless about protecting myself. I spring up, bang my bedroom door shut. It's now clawing like crazy at the door. I could hear it struggling to breathe. Panicked, I dialed 911. Couldn't even talk right, but the dispatcher got the hint and sent help. When the scratching finally stopped, I was all ears, waiting for its next move. Heard it run off. Cops found me a mess in the corner. They checked the place, no sign of the thing. They took my statement while trying to chill me out. I could tell they thought I was nuts. Cops asked if I had beef with anyone or family to crash with. Nope. I'm broke, always either working or at home. They figure it's some burglar, but I know what's up. I did some Googling. What I saw was the rake, some spooky creature that messes with people. So this creature, the rake, has been around for ages, always on the prowl. Turns out my creepy encounter wasn't a one-off. Loads of other people have met this thing and felt the same fear. Scary, but sort of comforting that I'm not the only one. I've been doing all I can to keep safe from it since then. Just got some extra locks for my doors and windows, and there's always some sort of weapon nearby. Might not make me totally safe, but it's better than nothing. Still get freaked out dreaming about that damn night. I'll never shake it off completely. But hell, I'm not gonna let the rake boss me around. Gonna keep pushing, fighting back, and telling my story to anyone else who's dealing with this crap. Thinking about that night, I'm pretty dang lucky to still be kicking. Ain't many who cross paths with something like the rake and live to tell the tale. It's weird, but in a way I'm kind of thankful for the experience. I'm more alert of the spooky stuff hiding in the dark and value life a lot more now. Hey guys, switching it up a bit. I do this night shift radio gig in Nevada, running a Creatures of the Night segment. People call in with their crazy stories, most of them claiming they've met aliens, alien abductions and all that jazz. I've always been a bit of a skeptic and didn't really buy into the stories, but gotta admit they were damn entertaining. Then, weirdly, the calls started coming in more often, with more details. The folks on the line either deserved Oscars for their acting or they were genuinely scared. Started to wonder if there was something funky in the water, or maybe these stories had some truth to them. Just another night on the air for me, nursing lukewarm coffee and chatting with my listeners. Seems like full moon nights bring all the crazies to my call line. Can't wait to hear the wild stories coming my way. Nights usually blend into a mix of weird stories and urban legends. Some funny, some downright creepy. But tonight, I got this weird feeling as darkness fell. I had this gut feeling tonight wouldn't be just another regular night. Doubting the creature encounters bit wasn't new. Sometimes when people yacked about gray dudes hovering over their beds, it gave me the creeps. I just chalked it up to the job. But tonight there was something off about the shadows in the studio. And same as always, the phone lines were slammed. People started calling in about their weird experiences. Some saw strange lights in the desert, while others claimed to have weird dreams or lost time. Normally I'd just laugh, but their stories were kind of freaking me out tonight. Things got even weirder when a bunch of callers started saying they'd met the Greys. Those are the tiny aliens with huge bobbleheads. I could possibly believe in Bigfoot or desert witches that can change forms, but aliens are really hard to buy. A lady named Janice from Elko called in and shared a freaky encounter one night. She spoke super quiet, telling everyone about a night visit she had with these so-called Greys. Janice's story is cray-cray. She was dropping some heavy stuff on my usually chill late-night show. Something was off, and the studio felt super weird, like something was about to go down. I was totally freaked out, mad crazy vibes. Felt a sudden chill and heard my heart pounding like crazy. I bet even the mics picked up that noise. Oddly enough, nothing was actually happening. I couldn't shake this weird vibe, but couldn't do much about it either. At work, took another call, ready for another weird story before clocking out. But man, I wasn't ready for what came next. Everything went nuts. Crazy beeps and static started messing with my broadcast. No way my listeners could hear me through that madness. The control panel was going nuts, and the lights were dimming. Typical. The ghost show starts messing up after dark. I tried to brush it off, but something was off. That excited feeling from earlier was gone, replaced by anxiety. This didn't feel like the usual old radio station issues. Some unknown source jacked my signal. The usual tech stuff around me was acting all weird. I looked for anything to fix, but nada. A couple of tech guys came to help, but couldn't pinpoint the issue. Started wondering if it was just a glitch or something spookier. Guess my callers weren't nuts after all, huh? Suddenly everything was cool and I was back on air. Tech guys were clueless, but hey, we were running again. So I continued my show, picked another call, and heard another creepy gray story. And then, déjà vu. Well, the studio went nuts again, so I had to call it a night. Even after wrapping up, something felt off. I sat there in the dark studio, thinking over the crazy gray stories from listeners. I gotta say, they didn't seem so unbelievable by then. So I kept doing the show, and this weird trend started showing up. Whenever someone called to talk about the Greys, they'd get cut off by what we could only explain as technical difficulties. Like all our systems would just bug out and stop the callers from sharing their stories. Didn't happen with stories about other creatures, though. Everyone made it okay. So not claiming aliens exist or anything, but something's definitely tuning into my midnight podcast, and it's not cool with us discussing the Greys. Make of that what you will. Was driving late on I-94 through North Dakota for a family meetup in Minnesota. If you don't know, North Dakota is flat and feels like it goes on forever. Thought maybe driving at night would be quicker. Boy, was I wrong. So, my radio started acting up, right? I'd be cruising through the Dakotas, where the reception's usually top-notch, and boom, nothing but static. It was a total buzzkill. Didn't think much of it at first. But then the volume on my radio started cranking up and down on its own. Thought it was on the fritz since my car is pretty old and still has the original radio. Fiddled with it for a bit, then just turned it off and carried on my drive without tunes. Won't lie, driving through there at night without my radio was pretty creepy. But as I was getting used to the quiet, the dang radio turned on by itself. My car's pretty old, no fancy radio controls on the wheel, so it wasn't a mistake. It just popped on, all static, no signal. Spooky, huh? Kept turning off the radio, but it kept coming back on. Happened 3 times, super annoying. Pulled over, yanked the damn thing out with my pocket knife. Problem solved. Took me half an hour, but I'd had enough of its crap. Still had a long trip to go and didn't need this thing messing with me. Just as I was getting back on the freeway, the radio started making static noises, wires unplugged and all. Don't know how, but it was still on. I said screw it, rolled down the window and lobbed the radio out. So I spotted like 24 bluish-white lights in the field next to my car. At first they seemed randomly placed. Weirdest thing I've ever seen. No clue why, but I just had to get out of the car to look closer. Felt like it was calling to me or something. And there was this radio on the ground, still blasting static despite having no power. Super odd. Should have realized I needed to bounce right then, but nope, too hung up on those lights. They started about a football field away, looked about the size of a baseball. So they're all just chilling 3 feet up in the air and it's super dark. I think I saw some lights bouncing off a lake or something, and there weren't any trees around, just open land. These lights were all fluttering around like supersized fireflies. Saw it all from my car. When I got outside, they all just stopped like they noticed me. I really wasn't thinking why I even got out of my car and walked towards the lights. I didn't even know what they were. They were just chilling in the field, floating above the ground. Then, out of nowhere, they just dropped at the same time. The lights were still on, but just lying all over the place. Then they started to move towards each other. It was so weird I just had to keep watching. They all lined up and just came at me, kind of like a snake. Snapped back to reality. I instantly knew I was screwed. I had to get my ass back in the car before those things got me. Those lights were zooming towards me, but luckily my car was close and the door was wide open. You wouldn't believe how quickly I slammed that car into drive and raced back onto the highway. Don't know what those things would have done to me, but I bet it wouldn't have been pretty. Saw them in my rear view as I zoomed off. They were all crowding where my car was, probably checking out the radio. Not sure what's up with the radio or the lights, but they're definitely linked. Could they have messed with my radio to get me to stop? Or maybe it was just a coincidence. Maybe I wasn't meant to see them. I looked everywhere and still got no clue what they were. One thing's for sure, I'm never driving alone at night in the boonies again. I believe in a bunch of stuff, living in South Carolina and all that. Legends like the Boo Hag and the Chupacabra are pretty much household names here. But you know, sometimes all this supernatural stuff can mess with you. Soon enough, you're out there looking for the weirdest creatures nature's got to offer. Never bumped into the Boo Hag or Chupacabra, but I've seen some shit. You know those tree-lined roads you drive down for hours blasting music when stress levels hit the roof? That's where it happened. Turns out I was bugging someone or something after all. Apparently, it was just a waiting game until my car bit the dust on some lonely road. Was inevitable that my tire would hit something sharp. My tire popped and the rim crashed along the road, scaring the hell out of me. I stopped the car without causing more damage, though it did screw up my whole day. After calming down, I got out to check. The tire was toast. Popped my tire on some crap. Had a spare, but wasn't exactly a pit crew. Took ages, but got it swapped out eventually. Then felt like something was eyeballing me. Heard something sneaking around in the woods. It sounded hefty, no idea how it stayed quiet. Turned to look, but nada. Just the spooky crunching of leaves under whatever it was. Tried to see it, yelled to chase it away, then focused back on changing the tire. Managed to get the spare tire on just as this creepy critter shows up from the trees. The headlights kind of reflected off its scales. Totally grabbed my attention. Almost got sneak attacked, but nah, it was just chilling roadside a few yards away. Just watched me struggle with the tire iron. Then it straightened up. Creepy. It kind of stood like a dude, just with extra long arms and scaly skin. If a car passed by, which would be bizarre, they might think we were just two pals hanging out. But no one would buy that there's a monster here. It's just too far off from the spooky stories we all heard as kids. Couldn't believe it, but this thing was right next to me. I bolted for the car just as it tried to attack. Made it and gunned the engine as its claws scraped the door. The car skidded back onto the road, sending dirt flying. I was finally out of there. Managed to knock the beast over while getting away. Spotted it getting back up in my mirror, still coming for me. It kept charging. I was cussing out my speedometer and flooring it, but my car just wasn't fast enough. The old car tried, but man, this critter was fast. It vanished somewhere I couldn't see, and I bet I was hyperventilating big time. I was zigzagging like a drunken sailor, trying to spot where the hell this beast had gone. Knew the damn thing wasn't gone. Heard a huge bang above, no prizes for guessing what it was. Something hefty landed right on the roof. Its claw swatted down and splatted a spiderweb all over my windshield. Real horror movie stuff, man. Just saw this creature trying to break my window. It's gonna get in soon. I hit the brakes like mad and it flips over my hood, crash landing in the street all tangled up and whimpering. Turns out it had a few burns and scratches. Maybe it was slowed down. Escape tasted sweet again, but I had to move forward to get there. Slammed the gas again, gunning for that creature. I heard a shriek before I could turn it into a roadkill. Then just like that, flash, gone. Dodged me and bolted back into the woods. Kept moving and blasted tunes just telling myself I'm safe. Hitting town, a cop pulls me over pretty fast. He gets me to the hospital because I'm bawling and shaking like a leaf. Good old South Carolina then sends out an entire cop squad to hunt that freak I'd bumped into. Showed up with zip, but no one called BS on my tail. Crazy wild, but not called the loony bin wild. Plus, that wasn't human blood on my windshield. We didn't run any tests, just hosed it off, and I spent a month waiting for the repairs. Back to the usual grind, just without those twisty road trips. I'm a dog catcher. It's a pretty unglamorous gig, but believe me, there isn't a doggo out there that can pull a fast one on me. I've been at it for so long, I've got all the tricks down pat, and I'm practically Dr. Doolittle when it comes to reading their body language. I know when to sedate and when to just use a soft voice. As the only one handling animal control in my small town, get all the calls. It's me saving your cat from the tree or dealing with your dog after it's bitten the mailman. So yeah, I handle more than just dogs. Guess I need a new intro because I work with animals, right? Dogs, cats, turtles, no prob. But my job didn't prep me for dealing with legit monsters. Okay, so laugh it out. I know it sounds nuts, but I'm gonna be straight here. In my town, we had what you'd call a monster on the loose. Since everyone was convinced it was just some feral beast, I was stuck with monster hunting duty. It could have been a coyote, a bear, or even one of the last mountain lions around. Everyone told me the same thing. I didn't really feel like dealing with those animals, but who else would? The same tranquilizer used on the Rottweilers and Mastiffs should work on them, right? So I packed my stuff, gassed up my van, and started searching for the thing I really didn't want to find. I mean, I'm good at my job, you know? So I ended up finding that beast after all. Caught it lugging a trash bag from a dumpster, leaving a trail of paper cups and sandwich bits. Didn't seem odd. I've seen dogs do the same. But this thing was massive. Yo, it's one thing seeing an animal as big as a human, that's scary enough. But when it's larger than a human, that's full-on horror movie material. This thing freaking towered over me, scared me silly. Man, catching dogs is my thing. Monsters? Nah, dude. But here I am lighting this thing up with my car spotlight. I mean, it's got like 2 of me in it. Easy. Its fur was short, curly, and all over. The eyes, they were scary as hell. It clearly hated the light and shot me a nasty look. And its legs, they were nothing like a dog's. Its limbs were folded up kind of like a human's. The creature weirdly looked like a dude pretending to be a dog, but giant. And the dude had fangs and claws. It had drool running from its mouth and snot around its nose. Gross. I don't think it was sick, just hungry, scarfing down trash. Man, I goofed up and disturbed it. By the time it swung round, I'd already hopped out of the van, popped the driver's door open and rolled down the window, using it to steady my rifle. Was aiming a knockout dart at this beast. Fired and hit it, but instead of going sleepy time, it stood tall. It charged at me. I shot, hit it, but it didn't stop. Just barely made it into the van when that monster smashed into the door. The door slammed shut, and I heard the thing's claws scraping on the concrete outside. I was already huddled in the passenger seat. No way was I going to offer myself as a snack by sitting near that open window. Couldn't roll it up either without potentially coming eye to eye with it. Then it tried to jump through the open window, but got its shoulders stuck in the frame. This thing was coming at me, one little lunge at a time, like it was biting the air. I knew those gnarly yellow teeth wanted a piece of me. I kept kicking it back when I got the chance, making the inside of the place a spit show. This beast lets out a yowl when it hits the van's horn, hightails it backward, popping out of the window. I decide to go for the horn, set off a honking symphony, and watch the thing bolt. Must have had one hell of an ear for sound. All I can say is thank God for that. Messed up at work, so suggested everyone to make a ton of noise the next night. Some honked their cars, others played loud music, and a few even set off some not-so-legal fireworks. Never saw that critter leave, but it never came back either. I'm just a dog catcher, you know? I haven't seen a dog like that before, so I just chased it away.